Coming up on the 2014 FIFA World Cup magazine, we take to the skies over Brasilia. We meet Dada Maravilha, one of Brazilian football's most prolific strikers. And we investigate the German influence on life in Curitiba, in the southern state of Paraná. But we begin in Zagreb, where Belgium and their travelling fans were able to celebrate FIFA World Cup qualification for the first time since 2001, following a 2-1 victory over Croatia. Romelu Lukaku was the hero on the night. The Chelsea striker, who's currently on loan at their English Premier League rivals Everton, scored both of Belgium's goals on another impressive night for Mark Wilmot's men, who will fancy their chances of making a real impact in Brazil. As for Croatia, they'll now contest the European playoffs, which take place in November. Germany are also through. A 3-0 victory over the Republic of Ireland in Cologne, confirming their participation in a 16th consecutive FIFA World Cup. Mesut Ozil rounded off a successful evening for the hosts, who finished their campaign unbeaten, having scored an impressive 36 goals in their 10 qualifying games. As ever, the Germans will be among the favourites to lift the famous trophy. Anything less than a victory over Poland in their final qualifier at Wembley, and England would have faced the lottery of the playoffs. The visitors had opportunities to halt England's progress, but after chances had gone astray, Wayne Rooney rose unopposed to put the hosts ahead. After the break, captain Steven Gerrard put the result and the outcome of the group beyond doubt, as England secured their passage to a 5th straight finals. There'll be at least one nation making its first FIFA World Cup appearance next year, after Bosnia-Herzegovina progressed from Europe's Group G, and how they and their travelling fans celebrated the achievement. Qualification was secured in Lithuania, where a second-half goal from Vedad Ibišević was sufficient to keep them ahead of Greece on goal difference. After suffering playoff heartache as they sought to qualify for the 2010 tournament, Bosnia can now look forward to being on the biggest stage of all when the tournament kicks off in June. Switzerland, Russia and Spain also secured berths for Brazil on a busy couple of nights in Europe. So that's 9 teams confirmed, with the continent's other 4 qualifiers to be determined via the playoffs. Colombia will dine once again at football's top table after securing one of South America's 4 automatic qualifying berths. Their last appearance in the finals came in 1998, and there were fears they may miss out again when they fell 3-0 behind at home to Chile, a result that would have secured the visitors their place in the finals. But 3 second-half goals, 2 of them penalties from Radamel Falcao, ensured Los Cafeteros will head to Brazil, under the guidance of coach Jose Pekerman, whose native Argentina had already secured top spot in South America's qualifying campaign. Four days later, Chile entertained Ecuador, with both teams needing a point to be sure of qualification. Barcelona's Alexis Sanchez settled home nerves shortly after the half-hour mark with his 4th goal of the campaign. Chile's second followed soon after. Gary Medel simply couldn't miss. Ecuador silenced the home fans when Felipe Caicedo scored midway through the second half. Still, Chile held on for the all-important victory. And despite the defeat, Ecuador also qualified, leaving Uruguay to face a playoff against Jordan. In the North, Central America and Caribbean zone, Carlos Cosley's early goal for Honduras put them on the verge of qualification once again. A point was all they needed to edge out Mexico for the region's 3rd automatic berth in the finals. And although Jamaica would equalise twice in the game, Maynor Figueroa's deflected free kick was the goal that ensured that Honduras will join the USA and Costa Rica in Brazil, leaving regional heavyweights Mexico to tackle Oceania's New Zealand in the playoffs. Whilst qualifying continues around the world, in Brazil construction work is ongoing at 6 of the 12 stadia that will host the 64 matches in June and July next year. FIFA's deadline for the delivery of the remaining venues is approaching, and in September in Curitiba, the Arena da Baixada was a hive of activity. The stadium was and will again be home to Atlético Paranaense, a club enjoying something of a renaissance this season after their return to Brazil's top division in May. Atlético are currently playing their home games at the city's Estadio Vila Capanema, a venue for the 1950 FIFA World Cup. Their temporary surroundings seem to suit them just fine. With 9 games of the national championship remaining, Atlético were third and looking well placed to qualify for the Copa Libertadores. And if they succeed, they'll be entertaining some of the continent's finest clubs in the Arena da Baixada, a structure that should help them compete for silverware on a regular basis.
Football today is a very expensive activity, and if you don't generate enough revenue, it's very difficult for a club to compete at a high level in the best competitions. So the stadium is very important, as it will give us the opportunity to generate more income.
So good news for the club and good news for the players, whose training sessions will soon be geared to preparing them to perform in one of the world's newest stadia. And they won't be short of vocal support when they do move back home.
I think it will make a huge difference, not least because it'll be even bigger. It will hold 45,000 spectators. Our fans are very passionate and very loyal, and every match will be sold out. With our fans singing alongside us, Atlético Paranaense will become a very strong team, both within the state of Paraná and in the country as a whole.
We're very committed to delivering the operation. We know about the excellence of FIFA's work, of the partners that FIFA has and what they bring to their competitions. But I can assure you that Atlético Paranaense will deliver a stadium that is sure to be one of the best venues among the 12 taking part in Brazil's World Cup.
It's 230 years since the Montgolfier brothers' hot air balloon took to the skies above Annonay in southeast France for the world's first untethered manned flight. More recently, in October 1970, Vittorio Truffi became the first man to pilot a balloon in Brazil, where, next year, the 21st World Hot Air Balloon Championship will take place. Such is the sport's popularity in Brazil these days, there is now a national festival of ballooning, which is staged in the federal capital, Brasilia, as part of the city's anniversary celebrations.
It began 4 years ago, when we were invited by the Brazilian government to bring some hot air balloons to show the people of Brasilia. It was a way of introducing the sport. Brasilia is a great place to fly balloons. There are big open spaces, and it's a city that's very different to the majority of big cities across the world. The skies of Brasilia are always favourable for balloon flights. So this combination of positive climatic conditions and the many open spaces is very conducive to ballooning. For that reason, we now hold 2 events a year. One to coincide with Brasilia's anniversary, and another on the 7th of September. That's Brazil's Independence Day.
Today, balloons come in all shapes and sizes, and whilst most can carry only a handful of passengers, there are those with much larger envelopes, which can take a basket or gondola that holds as many as 30 people. The views from the sky and the ground are equally impressive, although more people, it seems, are keen to hop aboard these days and experience life at a higher level.
Every year the demand for balloon rides increases. There are more and more people wanting to know about ballooning, and they become enchanted by our passion for the sport. So we always try to have a few tethered balloons on site for people to go up and get a feel for it, because it would be impossible for me to offer flights to everyone. The tethered balloons help us to accommodate as many people as possible in an area between the balloons in the air and the people on the ground.
For hot air balloon pilots like Eduardo de Mello, things might be about to get even busier. There's that World Championship on the horizon, as is the FIFA World Cup, of course. And with 7 matches set for Brasilia, there are sure to be several fans who'd welcome the chance to get a bird's-eye view of this unique city.
When I wear the green and yellow, the emotion is strong. The wind touches the flag and moves inside our heart. I am Brazilian. I'm Brazilian.
Let's go, everybody!
Augusto, an aspiring musician, is a man on a mission.
The primary objective of this project of mine, Hexafesta, is to introduce more football-themed songs to our fans inside the stadium and to create a great party. You can't start a party with just one song. Several are needed. So I've composed a few songs for inside the stadium to help generate a terrific atmosphere. I would also like for those people from around the world who will be visiting for the World Cup to experience our songs and our positive energy.
There's always a carnival atmosphere whenever and wherever Brazil play. The fans certainly know how to enjoy themselves, but when it comes to voicing their appreciation for the national team, they've been short on songs to sing. Not for much longer if Augusto gets his way, for he wants them to sing a variety of songs, positive tunes to help the team perform.
Brazilian fans were disillusioned with the national team not so long ago. If they didn't play well within the first 10 or 20 minutes, people would start to jeer. It was those scenes that triggered the idea for my Hexafesta project. My intention has always been to support the team, support them even if they aren't playing well.
There was no issue with the national team not playing well during the FIFA Confederations Cup, which culminated in their 3-0 victory over Spain in the final. Augusto made the 2-hour road journey to Maracanã for that game, and even though he didn't have a ticket, he sang his songs before, during and after the match. And he'll do so again in 2014, regardless of the result.
Win or lose, happy or sad, we will always be on our country's side, always close to people. The intention of sport and of the event itself is to unite people. If you add music into the mix, you'll have a joyful occasion and a great party. Combine all of that with classic football matches, and this tournament will be a dream to live through.
Viva Augusto, viva Hexafesta. Brazil's production line of talent continues to roll. Many great players have emerged down the years, but who's your favourite? Here to tell us his is a player turned administrator.
My favourite Brazilian player is Pelé. I remember 1970, growing up as a young man in Africa. Even we had black and white TVs. Even we didn't have one at our own house. And my dad, my older brother Benjamin, we used to go somewhere and we always watch the World Cup of 1970. I was quite young then. I think just coming on to, we're going to be 7 that year. Pelé just caught my eye and always was my favorite player.
Brazil boasts many big cities up and down this vast country. In terms of population, Curitiba is in the top 10, and as is the case in all the large conurbations in the south of the country, many of the inhabitants are of European descent. The first Europeans arrived here from Portugal in the 17th century and were eventually followed by immigrants from Spain and Germany. Large numbers of Ukrainians, Italians and Japanese also set up home in the city, and the influence of all these cultures is still in evidence today, be it through architecture, restaurants or even a dance group.
Our group is known as the Concordia Germanic Folk Dance Group. In the 1960s, in an attempt to resurrect a Germanic culture that had been lost after the two great wars, clubs in Curitiba, and especially the Concordia Club, decided to bring back one or two traditions. That's why the folk group was founded. It's very important that the traditions that were brought here many years ago by people who left their homeland for an unknown country do not get lost or abandoned. Regardless of whether I'm a descendant or not, we should keep these traditions alive, be it dance, music, writing, or even the language. We must preserve the traditions that history has given us.
Links between the two countries have also been strengthened through football. More than 100 Brazilians have played in the Bundesliga, and Paulo Rink went a step further. The Curitiba native joined Bayer Leverkusen in 1997. Within a year, thanks to his grandfather being German, he was called up by the national team.
At the time, the Brazilian national team had Romario, Ronaldo, Bebeto, players known the world over, and I had no chance of deposing them, even if I did have potential. In Germany, we had Janke, Bierhoff, and a coach that wanted a Brazilian player to add some Latin blood to a team that was in a period of transition. My parents are Brazilian and my grandfather is German, so my loyalties are to Brazil, without any doubt. But I do feel immense respect for Germany, because my grandfather was a German immigrant who helped build roads and railways here in Brazil to improve the city of Curitiba.
A couple of generations on, Paulo, who retired in 2007, is now doing his bit for the city of Curitiba. He's an ambassador for the Little Prince Hospital, the largest paediatric hospital in Brazil. In his prime, Paulo made 13 appearances for Germany, and whilst he did appear at Euro 2000, he never got to play in a FIFA World Cup. But he will be watching in 2014, when his loyalties, presumably, will be split.
Since I'm Brazilian, I obviously want Brazil to do well. For the sake of my former colleagues, for the team manager Oliver Bierhoff, I still support Germany as well. So if the World Cup final is between Brazil and Germany, I'll win either way.
Welcome to Casa da Cultura in Pernambuco. The official name is Casa da Cultura Luiz Gonzaga. I am Maria José, the location manager. This building used to be a prison, a penitentiary that closed its doors 40 years ago. It's been a cultural centre for 37 years now. In reality, the building has gone through a cultural revolution, transformed from a tool for repression to a tool for freedom. This is one of the 8 towers that were preserved when the building ceased to be a prison. They shut down the prison in 1973 and it became a cultural centre in 1976. The state government at the time decided to leave some parts of the old detention house intact. So when the prison walls were demolished, the 8 towers were preserved. Here we are in cell 106. They could hold up to 20 inmates in here. They held both ordinary and political prisoners in this penitentiary. During one period when the military were in power, they also held prisoners of conscience. But here in this cell, this is where regular inmates were held. This is one of the 110 shops that sell arts and crafts here at Casa da Cultura. Football fans from all over the world, as well as those from Brazil, will be able to find anything they wish for here. You can find everything you could imagine in terms of arts and handicrafts from the state of Pernambuco here at Casa da Cultura. There's something for all budgets. Those fans coming here won't leave without a gift, a present or a memory from Pernambuco. We're approaching the end of our visit to Casa da Cultura Luís Gonzaga, one of the most important sites in Recife. We'll be waiting for you in 2014 here in Recife at the World Cup. Casa da Cultura will welcome you with open arms.
All great Brazilian players are better known by their nicknames, and Dario José dos Santos is no exception. Dada Maravilha is the great man's moniker, and in his pomp he was a formidable striker. Only Pelé and Romario scored more goals domestically than the man who could leap like a salmon.
I could jump 90 centimetres high from a standing start. A volleyball or basketball player, yes. But a footballer? I scored 499 goals with my head. I'm the greatest header of a ball on the planet. I'll sue anyone who says they've scored more headers than me.
Now 67, Dada, a Rio native, has made Belo Horizonte his home, and he remains a popular figure with fans and the media alike. But it could all have been so different had he failed to convince a small club from Rio that he was worthy of a trial.
I went to Campo Grande for the 7th time and the director recognised me but said I couldn't train. And someone said, "Poor guy, he's here now, let him train." He said, "Listen boy, why did you come?" I replied, "I'm very poor and I've not eaten breakfast or lunch. If I train, I'll collapse. But if you give me some food, you'll have a striker on your hands." He didn't like me, but he liked my words. So he said, "Give him some food and he can train tomorrow."
He trained the next day and was offered a contract, and it wasn't long before his aerial prowess attracted the attention of Belo Horizonte giants Atlético Mineiro. He would go on to score goals aplenty in his 4 years with the Roosters, including the winning goal in the final of Brazil's first national championship in 1971.
It was absurd for Atletico to be champions at that time. There was Botafogo, Palmeiras, Santos, Flamengo, Fluminense and Grêmio. They were better teams than we were. People were criticising me, so in one interview I said, "I will score more goals, I will win the championship, and I will score the goal that secures the title." I then dropped the microphone and left. The guys called me crazy, but Atletico were champions, and I scored the goal that won the title.
A larger-than-life character, Dada enjoyed an 18-year career that was spent entirely in Brazil. He won a second national and he was never short of a word or two, often repeating the same catchphrases.
And Dada. And to make the least effort possible, use your intelligence. That one's fantastic. It's wonderful and divine. I was on people's lips as a poet. And all this after stopping school in the 8th grade. I was so understood that I touched people's hearts with words. And words are sweet. They touch with body and soul. So today, I'm known as Dada the footballer and Dada the poet.
Next time on the 2014 FIFA World Cup magazine, we sample street football in Paraná. We're in Rio, where the program of pacification has transformed the Santa Marta favela. And we meet Roberto Rivellino, the mustachioed midfielder who won the World Cup with Brazil. Until then, goodbye.